नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पार्श्वदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So I'm just sharing the screen with all of you. So we have done till second chapter. Fifty one. Yes, 51. No, sorry, 61. Yeah, 61. Let us read. तानि सर्वाणि संयम्य युक्त आसीत् मत्परः वशे हि यस्येन्द्रियाणि तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता. Can you read the translation, please? Yes, one of you. Virat too.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I'm just driving, so it may be hard for me to read the translation.
Oh, okay. Prashant bro, you like it?
Yes, Prabhuji, I can read this one. One who restrains his senses, keeping them under full control, and fixes his consciousness upon me is known as man of steady intelligence.
Yeah. Yeah, read whatever.
That the higher conception of yoga perfection is Krishna consciousness is clearly explained in this verse. And unless one is Krishna conscious, it is not at all possible to control the senses. As cited above, the great sage Durvasa Muni picked a quarrel with Maharaj.
Durvasa Muni.
Durvasa Muni picked a quarrel with Maharaj Ambarisa, and Dwarsa Muni unnecessarily became angry out of pride and therefore could not check his senses. On the other hand, the king, although not as powerful a yogi as the sage, but a devotee of the Lord, silently tolerated all the sage's injustices and thereby emerged victorious. The king was able to control his senses because of the following qualification as mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yeah, so the king was able to control his senses because of the following qualification. You mentioned Srimad Bhagavatam. It's about Savayamana Krishna Padara Vindayo Vacham Shivaikuntha Gunanavali. Karo Hare Mandir Marjanadisho Shutim Chakara Sutkatode Bundalinga Laya Darshane Drisho Tadbritya Gatra Sparsha Sangamam Pranam Chatatpad Saroja Saurabhe Srimad Tulsi Arasanam Tadapite Pado Hare Chet Padana Sarpane Shiro Rishi Kesha Padan Bandane Kamam Chudase Natukama Kamya Yathuttama Shloka. Read the translation.
King Ambarisa fixed his mind on the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, engaged his words in describing the abode of the Lord, his hands in cleansing the temple of the Lord, his ears in the hearing of pastimes of the Lord, his eyes in seeing the form of the Lord, and his body in touching the body of the devotee, his nostril in smelling the fragrance of the flowers offered to the lotus feet of the Lord, his tongue in tasting the tulsi leaves offered to him, his legs in traveling to the holy places where his temple is situated, his head in offering obeisance unto the Lord, and his desires in fulfilling the desires of the Lord. And all these qualifications made him fit to become a Matpara devotee of the Lord.
Matpara, yes. Go ahead.
The word Matpara is more significant in this connection. How one can become a Matpara is described in the life of Maharaj Ambrasa, Srila Baladev Vidbhushana, a great scholar and acharya in the line of Matpara remarks, Mad Bhakti Prabhavina Sarvenadriya Vijaya Purvika Swatam Drishta Sulabheti Bhavaha. The sense can be completely controlled only by the strength of devotional service to Krishna. Also, the example of fire is sometimes given as a blazing fire burns everything within a room. Lord Vishnu, situated in the heart of the yogi, burns up all kinds of impurities. The Yoga Sutra also prescribes meditation on Vishnu and not meditation on the void. The so-called yogis who meditate on something other than the Vishnu form simply waste their time in vain search after some phantasmagoria. Phantasmagoria. We have to be Krishna conscious devotee to the personality of Godhead. This aim this is the aim of the real yoga. Surrender unto me.
Is one of the most important and concluding verse what Krishna is talking. Tani sarvani samyamyam yukta asit matpara gashehi yasendriyani tasya pragya pratishthita. So here we have to restrain our senses, keep them under full control, at the same time fix our consciousness into the Lord. Then only we can attain the steady intelligence. So he gives very beautiful example of Maharaj Ambarish. So Maharaj Ambarish was an ordinary, I mean not ordinary, he's a great king, but he was in he was a grihastha and he had a kingdom and everything. And Durvasa Muni is a renunciant. It's a great sannyasi, renounced order. But it is mentioned that how Maharaj Ambarish, because he was engaging all his senses in Krishna's service. So he was, because of his full Krishna consciousness, he was completely devoid of any kind of anger or pride, and he had full control over his mind and senses. But Durvasa Muni, though he was a great sannyasi, great renunciant, but he could not check his senses. He got victimized by pride and arrogance, anger. So you can see that only by Krishna consciousness one can truly control his mind and senses. Right? So a devotee has to withdraw his mind and senses and engage in Krishna consciousness. Then only he can have steady intelligence. Then only he can really have full control over his mind and senses. So this very beautiful verse of Samaya Krishna Padara. And this also is very powerful. See what he says: the senses can be completely controlled only by the strength of devotional service to Krishna. So this is a formula. An example is given of fire. The fire, blazing fire, burns everything within the room. So when somebody is performing devotional service, then Krishna is there in the heart. Krishna becomes very lively in the heart of such a person. So because of the dint of devotional service, Krishna is very much present in the heart of a devotee. And then all the darkness in the heart of the devotee can be removed. That's how the powerful process of bhakti works. But something other than Vishnu, somebody tries to meditate, is simply waste of time. Sorry, saying. So we have to be Krishna conscious devotee to the personality part. Yeah. So this is the highest conception of yoga, that is when Krishna consciousness. Then only we can control our mind and senses. So actually, we have to train our mind to be Krishna conscious. Actually, the mind which is trained under Krishna consciousness, so it has a Krishna conscious way of thinking then. That means he will always think in terms of pleasing Krishna and not for exploiting anything and anyone. So then such kind of trained mind, this Krishna conscious mind, can actually remain controlled all the time. But so control means it is thinking as per our Krishna conscious perspective. Otherwise, if the mind is not controlled, the mind is thinking in a material way, then there is no limit. The mind can just materially go away here and there. So that's why we have to train our mind to be Krishna conscious more and more. So by dint of Krishna consciousness, one can control all his vices. One can control the anger, pride, envy, everything can be controlled by the dint of Krishna consciousness. So let's go to the next verse. Dhyato vishayan pumsa sangasteshu pajayate sanga sanjayate kamat kamat krodho vijayate. Read the translation, Prabhu.
While, con- while contemplating the objects of the senses,
Contemplating. Contemplating is
when,
dhyan, dhyato. Contemplating is.
when contemplating of when contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment for them,
Ah.
and from such attachment lust develops, and from lust anger arises.
Yeah. So now here he's talking about what happens to a person who does not tries to control his mind and senses. No? He gets into some kind of other contemplation instead of focusing his consciousness on Krishna. If somebody contemplates on sense objects, then what happens? So it's very dangerous. So you have to be always careful that we don't contemplate on object of our senses. It's not healthy for us. Because as we contemplate on the object of senses, then it doesn't stop there. You know? Then the further downfall shows there. You know? Because of contemplating on the object of senses, then eventually person develops attachment for them. That leads to lust. That leads to lust. And further downfall is there. The lust is developed, then one becomes, the lust is not fulfilled, then becomes angry. Then when they're angry, then memory is lost. And then he falls in the pool of material existence. So Krishna will speak how step by step one falls. So the strength what one gets by focusing on Krishna, that is being told. By that we can easily control our mind and senses. And also, if you're not focusing on Krishna and if you're focusing on sense objects, then what is the outcome of that? That also is explained. So the sadhaka should know both. The danger of contemplating on the object of senses, that is also given by Krishna here. So one has to be careful not to contemplate on the object of sense. And how one can withdraw his contemplation of object of senses? Contemplate on Krishna. There are so many ways one can think of Krishna. So one has to bring his mind back. That's why he's saying, Yani Sarvani Samyamya Yukta Asita Matparaha. So you have to bring your mind, you have to bring your senses away from sense object, and you have to focus on Krishna. So one thing is told, one should divert his mind towards Krishna. So yeah, so that's why. So here, when he's talking about the Sthita Pragya, how does he sleep? Means how does he manage his senses? How does he control his senses? So in that, the first part is told how one actually can control his senses by focusing on Krishna. But when he does not focus on Krishna, right, control the object of senses, then so then how one can fall? Suppose somebody is not focusing on Krishna and is contemplating on object of senses. Yeah. So now we'll go to the next verse. Krodhat bhavati sammoha. Okay, fine. Wait. You have to read that purport also, right? What is the purport?
One who is not Krishna conscious is subjected to material desires while contemplating the objects of the senses. The senses require real engagements, and if they are not engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, they will certainly seek engagement in the service of materialism. In the material world, everyone, including Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, to say nothing of other demigods in the heavenly planets, is subjected to the influence of sense objects. And the only method to get out of this puzzle of material existence is to become Krishna conscious. Lord Shiva was deeply in meditation, but when Parvati agitated him for sense pleasure, he agreed to the proposal, and as a result, Kartikeya was born. When Haridas Thakur was a young devotee of the Lord, he was similarly allured by the incarnation of Maya Devi, but Haridas easily passed the test because of his unalloyed devotion to Lord Krishna. As illustrated in the above-mentioned verse of Sri Yamunacharya, a sincere devotee of the Lord shuns all material sense, devotee of the Lord shuns all material sense enjoyment due to his higher taste of spiritual enjoyment in the association of the Lord. That is the secret of success. One who is not, therefore, One who is not therefore in Krishna consciousness, however powerful he may be in controlling the senses by the artificial repression, is sure ultimately to fail, for the slightest thought of sense pleasure will agitate him to clarify his desires.
Yeah. So he says when it's not Krishna, God is subject to material desires. Because we cannot be without having any contemplation. Like one devotee was asking one, proper disciple that what should I do? My mind is very contemplative. Then he said, yeah, very good, very nice. You can contemplate on Krishna so much. So the point is that when we are not Krishna conscious, we are not trying to contemplate on Krishna, then we will focus on sense objects. That's what I say. So when we are not Krishna conscious, so that we do material desires will contemplate the object of senses because there is no other option. The senses need engagement. If they're not engaged in the service of the Lord, then they will be engaged in the service of materialism. But you cannot be without engagement. So he says that Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, if you speak of demigods, they all are, they may get carried away by sense objects. And the only way to get out of this puzzle of material existence is to become Krishna. That is the only foolproof solution to become Krishna conscious. Then only one can remain steady, with his mind and senses. Otherwise, a uh, slight, disturbance, slight temptation, the sense object can disturb and can get carried away. So he says that how Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, but Haridas Thakur, you can see Haridas Thakur, when Mayadevi herself came to allure him, Haridas Thakur was not at all this way. So there is said that in Chatan Charitamrita, said, Krishna Nam Avishta Mana Sada Haridas Aranya Hridita Hrido Sri Bhav Prakash. How? Because Haridas Thakur was completely absorbed in chanting the holy name of Sadhara. So Mayadevi, even though she was trying so many ways to allure Haridas Thakur, but he was completely not affected because his mind had complete absorption in the holy name. So this is how a devotee can be safeguarded against Maya. So the formula is to have complete absorption in Krishna. That's the formula. So, and Yamunacharya also is being quoted that how Yamunacharya, when he was relishing Krishna consciousness because of his unalloyed devotion to the Lord, so even he felt disgust whenever there is thought of sense enjoyment. So that means Krishna consciousness is a state of fullness or devotee experiences. Just like a person who is satisfied in his hunger, with nice, delicious food stuff. So he won't be attracted to the street hawkers, right? So he's already full in himself. Same way, devotee of the Lord, he is fully satisfied, relishing Krishna consciousness by his unalloyed devotion, by his focus on the Lord. So that's how he can shun all material senses, shun all material enjoyment due to higher taste for spiritual enjoyment. But who is not there in Krishna consciousness, how powerful may be, incurring the senses by artificial repression, is surely ultimately to fail. That's why great yogis also fail, because little thought of sense gratification meditate them. Yeah, you go to next. क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहः सम्मोहः स्मृति विभ्रमः स्मृति भ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशो बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति.
From anger, complete delusion rises, and from delusion, bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost, and when intelligence is lost, one falls down again in the material pool.
Read the purport.
Srila Rupa Goswami has given us this direction. Prapan Prapanchikatya Buddhya Hari Sambandhi Vishnu Vastuna Mumsukbhi Pratiyoga Yago Vairagyam Phaglu Katyate. By the development of Krishna consciousness, one can know that everything has its use in the service of the Lord. Those who are without knowledge of Krishna consciousness artificially try to avoid material objects, and as a result, although they desire liberation from material bondage, they do not attain to the perfect stage of renunciation. Their so-called renunciation is called falgu, or less important. Therefore, he does not become a victim of material consciousness. For example, for an impersonalist, the Lord or the Absolute, being impersonal, cannot eat, whereas an impersonalist tries to avoid good eatables. A devotee knows that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer and that he eats all, and that he eats all that is offered to him in devotion. So, after offering good eatables to the Lord, the devotee takes the remnants called prasadam. Thus, everything becomes spiritualized and there is no danger of downfall. The devotee takes prasadam in Krishna consciousness, whereas the non devotee rejects it as material. The impersonalist, therefore, cannot enjoy life due to his artificial renunciation, and for this reason, a slight agitation of the mind pulls him down again into the pool of material existence. It is said that such a soul, even though rising up on the point of liberation, falls down again due to his not having support in devotional service.
Further downfall. From anger, complete delusion arises. From delusion, bewilderment of memory. Memory is bewildered. Intelligence is lost and falls down again in the material pool. so, so this verse actually is very powerful verse because it gives us the perspective, Vaishnava perspective, how he sees this whole world. So, so he says, when one develops Krishna consciousness, when one sees everything in connection with the Lord, then you can think of using everything in the service of the Lord. So, but those who don't have that understanding, so they actually just try not to engage in anything. Many Gyanis, impersonalists, they simply want to negate and give up all their activities. It's called Falgu Vairagya. So that's not real renunciation actually. The real renunciation is to engage everything in the service of the Lord. So that's what he's saying. So impersonalists think that Lord cannot eat, Lord cannot hear when we are doing devotional kirtan. But actually, devotee very much knows how we can devotee very much know that how we can actually uh, do so many services for the Lord. Because Lord is not something impersonal; He's a personal person. So everything can be utilized for the personality. Imagine, like parents are there and their children are there, and and there is nothing to be done for the children. You cannot feed the child, you cannot dress the child, you cannot bathe the child, you cannot give the child toy to play. Then parents will be like, like saying, what the child is a person. He has so many needs. In so many ways the child can be satisfied. Then the parents get joy. So same way, the Lord is a person. So the Lord also has his likes and dislikes, and he also reciprocates with the love of his devotees. And there's so many ways God can be served and pleased using all the different varieties of things. So devotee has that vision, to see everything in this material world as paraphernalia of the Lord, and how all those things has connection with the Lord, and it can be used in the service of the Lord. So that's why when this personal concept is not there, then you cannot have real vairagya. The real vairagya only is possible when you have a personal conception of the Lord. Because when Lord you see as a person, then you can serve him, please him by using things of this world. Because you know it belongs to the Lord and it should be used for the service of the Lord. That's the real vairagya. So a devotee can be 100% active and using so many things of this world, and he can be greatest renunciant also. So everything becomes spiritualized. The same our mind also. We don't have to get rid of our mind. We have to basically use our mind in Krishna's service. Our mind is thinking in a negative way. Our mind is thinking of some sense objects. When the mind thinks of Krishna, then it becomes spiritualized. It's as simple as that. So devotee takes prasadam in Krishna consciousness. Devotee will do a lot of varieties of services. So these are all spiritualized activities. So impersonalists therefore cannot enjoy life with artificial realization, but a slight agitation of the mind pulls him down in the pool of mental existence. Little agitation, he will fall because there is no positive engagement in the service of the Lord. So even this, they may so-called going closer to liberation, but still they fall because of not having support in devotional service. Next verse. Ragadesha vimuktestu vishayanindreshyaran atmavashya vidheyatma prasadam adhigacchati. Yes. Somebody else can read. Virat, would you like to read?
But a person free from all attachment and aversion and able to control his senses through regulative principles of freedom can obtain the complete mercy of the Lord.
Yeah, so here, actually, saying how one can achieve the mercy of the Lord. So sometimes devotees ask, no, Prabhu, हम तो भक्ति मार्ग में है. We are all the path of devotional service. What is the need of controlling mind and senses? हम तो भक्त हैं. हम थोड़ी योगी हैं. We are not yogis. We are not jnanis. We have to control our mind and senses. So we are devotees. So here, for devotee also controlling mind and senses is required. So here, Krishna is saying a person free from all attachment and aversion, able to control his senses through regulative principle of freedom, can obtain the complete mercy of the Lord. There is another verse also in Bhagavatam. It says, Dayaya sarvabhuteshu santushta yena kenava upe no sarvendriyopashantya cha tushyati ashru janardana sarvendriyopashantya cha. This is sarvendriya, all senses he controls. And and by showing compassion to all divinities, santushta yena kenava, remaining satisfied, and by controlling his senses, santushta yena. So he says such a person can quickly please the Supreme Lord. That's what he says. So that means that devotees can actually control their mind and senses for the pleasure of the Lord. Their motive is that let me not engage my mind and senses freely, whimsically, freely, liberal. We should not be liberal with our mind and senses. Where loosely mind and senses can go here and there. No, because we know that this mind and sense are the faculty which is meant for service to Krishna. So how can we allow this to be engaged here and there? So with that thought process, a devotee brings his mind and senses back from any kind of deviation and engages in the service of Krishna. So that pleases the Lord actually, because there is a part of devotion, that is part of devotional service. So when you're consciously controlling your mind and senses, bringing it back from sense objects and engaging in Krishna service, that is devotional service, because the intent is to please the Lord. Because this mind and senses belong to Krishna, it should be meant for Krishna service. Why should be engaged in something else? Why should my mind be thinking something? Why should my senses be engaged in some other activities which is not pleasing to Krishna? So it's a devotional attitude devotee has. So you see, it is already explained that one may externally control the senses by some artificial process, but unless the senses are engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord, there's every chance of a fall. Although the person full Krishna consciousness may apparently be on the sensual plane, because of being Krishna conscious, he has no attachment to sensual activities. The Krishna conscious person is concerned only with the satisfaction of Krishna and nothing else. Therefore, he is transcendental to all attachment and detachment. So devotee doesn't have any attachment or detachment both. He simply wants to serve Krishna. So like karmis are having attachment for sense objects. Jnanis, they want to be detached from this material world. The devotee has neither attachment for this material world nor detachment. He is only attached to Krishna. So for him, whatever is best for the service to the Lord, he will take it. What is not favorable for his service to Krishna, he will reject it. how devotee acts. Unless the senses are engaged in the trance and service of the Lord, there is every chance of fall. The person Krishna consciousness may apparently be on the sensual plane. Because of his being Krishna conscious, he has no attachment to sensual plane. The Krishna person is concerned only with the satisfaction of Krishna and nothing else. Therefore, he is transcendental to all attachment and detachment. If Krishna wants the devotee can do anything which is ordinarily undesirable. And if Krishna does not want, he shall not do that which he would have ordinarily done for its own satisfaction. So everything depends upon Krishna's will. Whatever is Krishna's will, devotee is happy to do that. He doesn't have his personal consideration, no personal attachment or detachment. So therefore, like Prabhupada would say, for the sake of Krishna, if a devotee has to stay in big palace, in a very comfortable situation, he's happy. He doesn't mind. He's not attached to being in jungle, forest. And if Krishna puts a devotee in a forest, so he's not even attached to the palace. So wherever and whatever is conducive for Krishna's service, wherever Krishna wants him to serve, devotee is simply concerned about that. If Krishna wants, the devotee can do anything which is already undesirable. If Krishna does not want, he shall not do that which he would have ordinarily done for his own satisfaction. Therefore, to act or not to act is within his control because he acts only under the direction of Krishna. This consciousness is a causeless mercy of the Lord, which the devotee can achieve in spite of being attached to sensual platform. So this consciousness of the causeless mercy of the Lord, the devotee can achieve in spite of being attached to. So that means what? So even though devotee may be on right now not on the complete spiritual platform, but by the mercy of the Lord, he can have that consciousness by which he is ready to act for the pleasure of the Lord without considering his personal attachment and detachment. That's the point. And even though he might have not been completely freed from his attachment to sensual platform, but devotee can still act or not act as per the will of the Lord, giving that as a priority. Having this consciousness that, oh, I exist only for the pleasure of the Lord. So even though he may be not fully freed from the attachment to sensual platform, but he doesn't care. He still will act for the pleasure of the Lord. It may be painful because of some attachment to sensual platform. It may be a little painful. The devotee will still do it for the pleasure of the Lord. And that pleases the Lord. And that kind of consciousness is the conscious mercy. So therefore, to act or not to act is within his control because he acts only under the direction of Krishna. So that's why we should also be very much be willing to do like that. Instead of thinking about our likes, dislikes, pleasure, pains, we can think of what way Guru wants me to serve. So we should be happy to render any service in any way the way Guru wants it, anywhere, any service the way Guru wants. So yeah, we may not be free from all the attachments. We may be still having conditions, but giving that as a priority, if somebody is able to do like that, that means this consciousness is consciousness. It's very nice consciousness. So that way one very swiftly progresses in Krishna consciousness. Prasade sarva dukkhanam hanirasyopajaayate prasanna chetaso yasho buddhi paryavatishtate. Somebody can read the translation?
Translation. For one that's satisfied in Krishna consciousness, the threefold miseries of material existence exist no longer. In such satisfied consciousness, one's intelligence is soon well established.
आधा देना दे. So yeah, so saying one the satisfied in Krishna consciousness, the threefold miseries of material existence exist no longer. In such a satisfied consciousness, one's intelligence is soon well established. Yeah. So as soon as you are established in Krishna consciousness, satisfied, the threefold miseries won't exist for you. That does not mean that you are not able and the threefold miseries in terms of Adhyatmik, Adi Bhautik, Adi Daivik. They may be there, but don't get affected by that. You don't get affected by that. And that's how you get steady intelligence. Once the satisfying question, the feeling once intelligence is soon well established. Ah, yeah. Can you think of some situation when you were having some apparent threefold miseries around you, but because you are satisfied in Krishna consciousness, so um, so you were not affected by that threefold misery? Anybody has any example to share? Yes. Anyone of you?
Prabhu, I have
Hmm.
one thing. Usually, I used to have that, okay, like life is for only, we should be very successful either in our like career or anything like that. But after Krishna consciousness, after I learned from Krishna consciousness, I understood it's okay. We need not have to be so much after everything. It's different. Our purpose is not getting successful in our material life. Our purpose is to uh, get liberation or serve Krishna.
Okay. They're saying that before communication consciousness, you're so much affected by the thought of having material success in career and all.
Yeah, we mostly I used to have like, okay, very patriotic, or like, oh, we should do good things, we should get appreciation from others. That is the life. That concept I used to have
You
it.
said what? Patriotic, huh?
Yeah, usually people think, right, like being patriotic is one great thing in our life, like that and all we used to have, right? In like from childhood we grow up like, okay, you should be very patriotic, you should do good things, great things, like that.
Hmm.
But it is very clear from Krishna consciousness, you need not have to do all those things. You should only satisfy, you have to do your karma according to dharma.
Hmm. Yeah, so I was looking forward for some more example, like for example, uh, like sometimes you have some service to great souls, right? Like when we were in some kind of service, like where sometimes your own hunger and sleep was compromised, right? But because you are able to serve some great souls, satisfaction was so deep, that external uh, troubles of the body and mind, it does not exist sometimes. You're so much feeling blissful in the service. So externally there will be threefold miseries, but you are experiencing, great bliss of Krishna consciousness by dint of your surrender or service to a great soul or some devotee or Lord. You may have some examples like that. Sleep may be less, or some inconvenience may be there, but it does not much affect you because you're so blissful in the service of the Lord. Like that, some example anybody has? Mm-hmm.
Example, knowing all this knowledge itself is a blissful for me. Like,
Yeah, that itself is blissful for you.
yes,
So, like for example, in Mayapur, it will be very humid and it will be summer. But then when we do kirtan, body is sweating. But the bliss of kirtan was so good. Sometimes you're playing Medangam, Kartal, you're completely tired, and body is completely exhausted. The sweat is coming all throughout. But so much bliss, that as if like you're liberated. You can experience that. So after that you collapse. But it's so blissful.
yeah. And also, if we do kirtan, we feel blissful in any state we are there. We feel very blissful.
Yeah. Sometimes you may be, in the tremendous anxiety, stress, job pressure, or something like that, some mental stress going on. But you come for a class, and the class is so absorbing, so amazing. You feel liberated. You feel like there's nothing, you're liberated. So threefold miseries won't exist for you that time. Even though before coming to the class, you were completely you had distressful, you anxiety and all, but you feel such deep relief.
Yeah, even coming, like I thought beginning you started 2 hours reading. I felt, okay, is this possible 2 hours? This cook, other works living. But after we keep on attending, it's okay, it's good, and we are gaining knowledge, and
Two
it's
people are
good.
coming.
Yes.
Again, you say? Sorry.
It's like beginning when you are proposing that we'll read Gita session 2 hours. It was like, okay, is it possible? Like 2 hours is too much, right? Usually sitting at a place and reading. But whatever you do to gain that perfect knowledge, it satisfies.
Correct. Yes. So mind may be thinking, Array, how will I say it? So much time. But when you get into it, you feel liberated, you feel blessed and relieved from any kind of so many troubles may be going on, but you feel liberated.
Yes.
So this is the way actually to overcome all our troubles and problems. So more you become absorbed in Krishna, the more threefold miseries will not exist for you. So if you're feeling disturbed, you're feeling miserable, you're feeling stressed, that means you're lacking Krishna consciousness. So our intelligence is not fixed in Lord. So more the intelligence is fixed on the Lord, you have satisfied consciousness, the more we will not experience the threefold miseries. चार लोग ले मिलेंगे चाबी भेज दो चाबी सिद्धेश प्रभु को बोलो चाबी के लिए अच्छा प्रभु यू गिव चाबी टू हिम आल्सो क्या नेक्स्ट वर्स नास्ति बुद्धिर्युक्तस्य न चायुक्तस्य भावना न चाभवयता शान्तिरशान्तस्य कुतः सुखम् Yes, Virat Kohli.
Translation: One who is not connected with the Supreme in Krishna consciousness can have neither transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind, without which there is no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace? Purport: Unless one is in Krishna consciousness, there is no possibility of peace. So it is confirmed in the 5th chapter that when one understands that Krishna is the only enjoyer of all the good results of sacrifice and penance, that he is the proprietor of all universal manifestations, and that he is the real friend of all living entities, then only can one have real peace. Therefore, if one is not in Krishna consciousness, there cannot be a final goal for the mind. Disturbance is due to want of an ultimate goal, and when one is certain that Krishna is the enjoyer, proprietor, and friend of everyone and everything, then one can, with a steady mind, bring about peace. Therefore, one who is engaged without a relationship with without a relationship with Krishna is certainly always in distress and is without peace. However much he may make a show of peace and spiritual advancement in life. Krishna consciousness is a self-manifested peaceful condition which can be achieved only in relationship with Krishna.
Yeah. So one is not connected with the Supreme in Krishna consciousness can have neither transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind, and without which there is no possibility of peace. And when there is no peace, then where is the question of happiness? So very nice, no? So he says that unless one is in Krishna consciousness, there is no possibility of peace. So, and Prabhupada writes in later also, he says that Krishna consciousness is a self-manifested peaceful condition. So many people are looking for peace in this world, no? Peace, 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 peace seeking, world peace, say, world peace organization. So many things they talk about, no, as peacemaking. But actually, the real peace is possible only by Krishna consciousness. And this verse is also there in 5th chapter. Muktaram yuga tapasam sarvalokam maheshram sohidam sarvbhutanam kyatamam shanti prichati. So there also he says that Prichati, that how by real peace is possible to understand Krishna being the supreme proprietor and controller of everything. He is the supreme enjoyer, and he is the uh, so, supreme well-wishing friend of all. So one who knows that can only attain real peace. So he says, but when you are not having Krishna consciousness, there cannot be a final goal for the mind. And this is a very amazing point. This principle is so good. See, disturbance is due to the want of an ultimate goal. So our mind, it is actually mind is simple. If mind has a very highest goal, then it can remain focused. Like for example, I'll tell you. How many of you must have? Many of you must have given exams, like so our board exams or IIT exams. I'm pretty sure you must have been in samadhi, for that period. At least I was. Nothing could disturb. It was so fixed. I remember when I'd been bike or I'm in the car or maybe in the bus, anywhere you put me, my exam is there. And I have to study, nothing can disturb. I'll be completely focused. And because it was very clear goal. The goal was there. My exam is there. Such kind of fixity was there. So disturbance was, there was external disturbance did not have any influence on me. I don't know whether you had experience. Virat, you had any experience like this? So when you have such urgent goal, then disturbance doesn't, disturb you.
Yes, Prabhuji. During every exam period.
Yeah, amazingly we get that ability, no? We can so much focus. I'd always wonder, how I'm able to so much focus and grasp also very fast. Cut, 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 cut. How it is possible? And normally the semester is passing, hardly you understand things sometimes. So I'd always wonder this, how this amazing thing happens. So many times people would glorify me. Oh, you nice student, this and that. Teachers would pat on the back, pat on the back. So, but I'd always feel, I'm not a very good student because whole semester I'm not so good. Only during exams I somehow become good. And because of my good focus in exam, during exam week, I score good marks. Usually that would happen in my school days. All my studies would happen during exams only. What about others? Shantu, Virat, what is your situation? What? For me, most of the preparation would happen during exam, and that's how I score good. I think you all must be very good students. But I'll be mainly like that.
The day before the exam, whatever we study, everything will understand, and you can.
Yeah. So but after of course after 10th I became a little more proactive than I prepared, because otherwise I would have not it would have not worked so much. But surely till 10th I felt it was like that only most of the time. And after 10th also, we would be very focused during exam week. That was true.
The more you be focused, the more easy it is and more understanding.
Yeah. So that's why he's saying disturbance is due to want of an ultimate goal. Now these goals may be temporary, it comes and goes. Then again, your mind is flickering, right? So mind needs ultimate goal, so that we can always remain focused. So that is Krishna consciousness. So Krishna is the enjoyer, proprietor, and friend of everyone, everything. Then we can have a steady mind. We bring about peace. So Krishna consciousness is gives you that kind of focus. Yeah. So if you can see also those who are Krishna conscious, those who are very, very I mean, they're really practicing Krishna consciousness, then you can see their focus. They're really very focused. I've seen Radha Shampoo. My God, such focus. Radhanath Swayman, such focus. Prabhupada, such focus. You can see that. So how that focus is there? Because they have the goal clear. They say when goal becomes hazy, one goes crazy. Then one starts so many varieties of things he will do. He also doesn't know what he's doing. So, so we need a goal, and that goal of Krishna consciousness can make one steady. So when goal becomes hazy, then one goes crazy. Then one cannot properly function. That's why having a concrete Krishna conscious goal, is what our mind needs. So disturbance is due to want of an ultimate goal. And when one is certain that Krishna is the enjoyer, proprietor, and friend of everyone and everything, then one can, with a steady mind, bring about peace. So they say, therefore, one who is engaged without a relationship with Krishna is certainly always in distress and is without peace. Yeah. So however much he may make a show of peace and spiritual ordinary life. So we need that. Today only I was speaking to one Western boy, that how we need to revive that relationship with Krishna. Because in that relationship with Krishna, you can actually be engaged positively in his service. That is there's a meaning of being Krishna conscious. Like when you are Krishna conscious means you have some relationship with Krishna. You're acting in that relationship with Krishna. Because how can you be Krishna conscious without having any understanding of your relationship with Krishna? Our relationship with Krishna is clearly given. Jivera Sarupa Krishna Nitya. I am servant of Krishna. So when you Krishna conscious means you understand Krishna my master. Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. He is my proprietor. He is my supreme friend. So that is the relationship what you have. Who आगे नहीं चले. Oh, sorry, my God. Already spoke. So I was saying that when we have that kind of sense of relationship with Krishna, because uh, yeah. So when you have you can think of a person only when you have some relationship with him. That's what I was saying. A brother, a friend, anything, right? Father. आप अकेले हो और कौन है? ओके, आप दोनों एक ही जैसे दिखते हो. So I was saying that relationship is important. When the relationship is there, then only you can think of that particular person. So in Krishna consciousness, means that you are acting as servant of Krishna. Krishna is my master, he is my supreme relation friend, and he is the supreme enjoyer. Whatever I do is for his enjoyment. Right? Krishna consciousness is self-manifested peaceful condition, which can be achieved only in relationship with Krishna. So, and you can see also in this world also, when you find peace, and then eventually happiness, when you have uh, people who care for you, and you have relationship. So relationship brings happiness in this world also. That only brings peace in this world also. Most of the time, the suffering which comes to people is because of relationship issues. Relationship can bring you the greatest ecstasy, and relationship can bring you the greatest distress also. So relationship is a very crucial thing. So now the problem is that in this world, our relationship is illusory. That's not the real relationship. That's why even though it goes well, okay, for some time you feel peaceful, but again you again become, because the relationship is terminated by death, or even the person also sometimes eternal. So that's a problem. But in the relationship with Krishna, the relationship is eternal. That's why you can have that stability in your relationship with Krishna eternally, and you can eternally be peaceful and happy in that relationship. Krishna is the real object of all love also. That's how you can find true peace and happiness. Let's go further. Indriyanam hi charitam janmano no vidhiyate tadasya harati pragyam vayurvan abhimamasi. So I'll just complete this, then I'll come back to it. Read the translation.
Translation: As a strong wind sweeps away a boat on the water, even one of the roaming senses on which the mind focuses on carries away a man's intelligence.
Yeah, read the purport.
Purport: Unless all of the senses are engaged in the service of the Lord, even one of them engaged in sense gratification can deviate the devotee from the path of transcendental advancement. As mentioned in the life of Maharaja Ambarisa, all of the senses must be engaged in Krishna consciousness, for that is the correct technique for controlling the mind.
Yeah. So a strong wind sweeps away a boat on the water. Even one of the roaming senses on which the mind focuses can carry away man's intelligence. So that shows that how one has to be strict with his senses and mind. So now senses may encounter some sense objects, but mind is like the main factor, because if the mind is engaged in Krishna's service, in Krishna consciousness, then, and the mind doesn't focuses on some sense object which senses are encountering, then the problem is not there. You can hear, Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Yes.
You can also hear. So it's valid for you. So into Gita, there is Gita 2.67.
Oh, Gita चल रही है.
Gita. So you can see when the senses are coming in touch with sense objects. So actually, it has impact on us only when the mind focuses on that. Like you can see, like when we are seeing so many things, it doesn't have impact on us. It doesn't make much difference. When our mind focuses on that, then everything starts. Like so that's why it is important for us that our mind is engaged in Krishna. Because when mind is engaged in Krishna, when even though you may encounter some sense objects, but what happens is the sense object, the senses gets attracted, and then mind also comes. So that step 2 happens when mind comes. And then when mind comes, then further the mind will contemplate. The mind contemplates, then attachment less, and further it goes like that. So that's why it is important that we always have some kind of service, some kind of responsibility, some kind of anxiety in Krishna's service, because that occupies the mind. But if you are not having some active anxiety, some responsibility, like a husband and wife, or the father or mother, they have some anxiety towards the family, correct? So that anxiety keeps the person, person's mind occupied. Then, even though there may be many difficulties, many distractions, temptations, but the person will again come back to serve the family, take care of the family, correct? The same way, a devotee should always have some anxiety in Krishna's service. So devotee should have some responsibility in Krishna's service, Krishna's mission. So that sense of responsibility, the sense of anxiety will keep the mind busy. And then even though senses may be encountering some sense objects, so mind can easily be withdrawn because mind has some anxiety, to we have some service to fulfill in the mission of Guru and Krishna. So this is very good for us. That's why Prabhupada also said, that the advancement in our Krishna consciousness depends upon how much we are taking responsibility in Krishna's service. So more we take anxiety in Krishna's service, more we take responsibility in Krishna's service, in Krishna's mission, in Prabhupada's mission, the more actually you'll have, absorption in Krishna. Like Mother Yashoda had anxiety for Krishna, right? In taking care of the child, in whether it's Krishna is hungry, Krishna should not eat much. So many anxieties Mother Yashoda had, right? So like that, one should have anxiety for Krishna or Krishna's service, Krishna's mission. So that is the formula. So it says, unless all of the senses are engaged in the service of the Lord, even one of them engaged in self-dedication can deviate the devotee from the path of transcendent advancement. I mentioned the life of Krishna. All senses must be engaged in Krishna for that is the correct technique. So our senses should be engaged, and our mind should have some, spiritual anxiety for Krishna, some kind of responsibility. So that even if there's some encounter with some sense object, because the mind is engaged, so then automatically the senses also will be engaged in Krishna's service, like that. So mind has to be fixed in Krishna. It easily can bring the senses back. The sense of Krishna. So correct. Text 68. तस्मादस्य महाबाहो निगृहीतानि सर्वशः इंद्रियाणि इंद्रियार्थेभ्यः तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता. So you're living. Thank you. So therefore, mighty arm, one whose senses are restrained from their object, is certainly of steady intelligence. Yeah. Mighty arm, one whose senses are restrained from their objects, is certainly of steady intelligence. So much of focus you can see, on how mind and senses should be restrained from sense objects and engage in Krishna's service. The whole talk is about that only. You can see. So how much we have to be very, cautious about our mind and senses, because that is the only thing we are playing around with. What we have is our mind and senses only. So we have to be very, very carefully withdrawing the mind and senses from sense objects and engaging in Krishna's service. Very, very vital. He says, one can curb the forces of sense gratification only by means of Krishna consciousness, or engaging all senses in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. As enemies are curbed by the superior force, the senses can similarly be curbed, not by any human endeavor, but only by keeping them engaged in the service of the Lord. One who has understood this, then that only by Krishna consciousness is one really established intelligence, and that one should practice this art under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master is called sadhaka. One who has understood this, that only by Krishna consciousness is one really established in intelligence, and that one should practice this art under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. It's called sadhaka. So one should practice this art under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. It's called sadhaka, or a suitable candidate for liberation. So we need a spiritual master who can give us the direction in how we can be engaged in Krishna's service. And when we remain busy in Krishna's service, then we have that fixed intelligence, steady intelligence. And that's how we can remain fixed in our mind and senses, remain engaged in Krishna's service and will not be deviated. So this practice is done best by under the guidance of the bona fide spiritual master, and we are sadhaka. So that's why in Krishna consciousness our help comes from the devotee's guidance, the spiritual master's guidance. That's how we can remain busy in Krishna's service. Text 69. Ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagrati sanyami yasyam jagrati bhutani sa nisha pashyato munehe. Can you read the translation, please?
Translation: What is night for all beings is the time of awakening for the self-controlled, and the time of awakening for all beings is night for the introspective sage.
Report.
Therefore, there are two classes of intelligent men. One who is intelligent in material activities for sense gratification, and the other is introspective and awake to the cultivation of self-realization. Activities of the introspective sage or thoughtful man are night for persons materially absorbed. Materialistic persons remain asleep in such a night due to their ignorance of self-realization. The introspective sage remains alert in the night of the materialistic men. The sage feels transcendental pleasure in the gradual advancement of spiritual culture, whereas a man in materialist activities, being asleep to self-realization, dreams of varieties of sense pleasure, feeling sometimes happy and sometimes distressed in his sleeping condition. The introspective man is always indifferent to materialistic happiness and distress. He goes on with his self-realization activities undisturbed by material reactions.
Yes. So, so this is talking about how the life of a devotee and life of a non-devotee is completely opposite. 180 degree. You know? So what is night for all beings is the time of awakening. And it's literally also true. When you get up in the morning at 4 a.m., then they sleep. When you are getting up, they are sleeping. And when you are sleeping, many times that time they become active. In the night, they become active.
So this is bad, right?
Sorry?
So it's like what the takeaway you will take from this.
The takeaway is that we have to know that the life of a devotee and life of a non-devotee is completely different.
Okay.
So one should not get like affected seeing the lifestyle of a non-devotee. We have to know they are different. We are different because we are for awakening. We are for spiritual realization. We will have a different lifestyle for sure. So there are two classes of intelligence. One is intelligent in material activities for self gratification, and the other is introspective and awake to the cultivation of self-realization. We are here for self-realization. So we cannot have same kind of lifestyle like those who are for self-gratification. So activities of the introspective stage or thoughtful manner, night for persons materially absorbed. When you see person remain asleep in such a night due to the ignorance of self-realization. Like morning we get up, we chant, that time they just sleep away. And the night we take rest so that we rejuvenate the body for morning, we fresh and chant. They will be awake in the night and do all nonsense. The introspective stage remains alert in the night of the materialistic man. That means night of the materialistic man means what? The time when they are inactive. I mean, those areas they will be inactive where devotees remain active. Like they won't be in the temple. They won't be in the early morning. This is a night of materialistic man. So we are present there. Like this is the night of this place is the night of materialistic man. No materialistic man comes here.
Yeah.
But devotees come here. Because you are wanting to progress in Krishna. So you will come. So most of the people will be, for them this is night. Means this is not the place for them. Sorry, sir, I don't want to be at this place. What are you at here? So there will be some other place. They may be going with some girlfriend, going for some movie or going some party. So they'll be happy with that. But for you, that place is not nothing meaningful to you. For you, are sorry, sir, I don't want it. So for you, that is night. Understand? So a devotee and non-devotee, their taste is different.
Yeah.
Their areas are different. No. You may be the same place, but you have a completely different area. Like that. Or different timings. The introspective stage remains alert in the night of the materialistic man. The sage feels transcendental pleasure in the gradual advancement of spiritual culture, where the man in materialistic activities being asleep to self-realization dreams of variety of sense pleasure, feeling sometimes happy and sometimes distressed in his sleeping condition. The introspective man is always indifferent. The introspective man is always indifferent to materialistic happiness and distress. Yeah. So he goes on with his self-realization activities and disturbing material reactions. So sage feels answer pleasure in gradual development. So that is his focus. So his pleasure comes by making advancement in spiritual life. But materialistic man, for him, his pleasure comes in different variety of sense gratification. So he dreams about various kinds. So he will always keep taking plan. Okay, now this girlfriend has gone away. Now another girlfriend he has to make. And then okay, this movie is over. Next movie, which one I have to see? The next time Friday, that long weekend is coming. Where should I go and do some entertainment? So many plans are there. But a devotee will have different plans. Okay, summer, winter is coming. So which retreat, devotional retreat you have to attend? Prabhu, खुद पूछेंगे. Prabhu, is there any retreat, Prabhu? Can we not go for some spiritual camps? Prabhu, we can read Gita more. I have holidays, Prabhu. Please tell us. He only will call devotees. So that means he is awake for self-realization. So he will have spiritual plans. As soon as my exams will come, like Prabhupada when he was in college, as soon as there will be holidays, he will go for Jagannath Puri. We'd always see the trains when the train is going and all, before only book his ticket and everything. So that means a devotee, his pleasure comes, how will he make more and more advancement in Krishna? And for those who are non-devotees, for him, how can he get more and more sense gratification? This is what his thought process will be. So he will take every opportunity for dreaming about and wanting to have gratification of senses. And for devotees, he is always taking an opportunity how he make plans, how he can make more and more advancement Krishna consciousness. Like all the devotees here. Now, yesterday only we told that today class is there. Immediately, all of them are there, you see. So that shows that they're awake for self-realization. So like sometimes people, even though they have not planned, but if something comes up in their college, suddenly they announce, oh, there is some kind of, you're going to have some disco or something like that. Many people will flock around, even though you have suddenly planned it. So, but if something nice thing is there, then even if you plan it from long time also, they won't come.
Yeah.
So that's the tendency of people who are materialist. But the devotees have a different taste. So devotee, okay, suddenly some Maharaj has come. So devotees can leave all that and go for the association. No problem, because other things can continue. But I need to get association of devotees. Or some lecture is scheduled and go for the sessions. They will try their best to get maximum advantage of it. So the introspective man is always indifferent to materialistic happiness and distress. So he is not so much, too much for materialistic happiness and distress, all that. He is not so much into that. His pleasure and happiness comes in making advancement. So he goes on with his self-realization activities, undisturbed material reactions. He doesn't too much get affected in material happiness and distress. A very powerful verse. You can repeat after me. All of you can unmute and repeat. Very beautiful verse. Apuryamanam achalam pratishtham
Apuryamanam achala pratishtam
samudramapa pravishanti yadvat
Madramapa
mudram apa
pravati yadatta
tadvat kamayam pravishanti sarve
tadvat amayam
Maya pravashanti
shanti
sarve
sarve
mapnoti na kama kami.
santim apnoti na kame
kama
kame.
kami.
Can read the translation. Venu Prabhu, can you read the translation? Venu Prabhu? Read the translation.
A person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enter like rivers into the ocean, which is ever being filled but is always still, can alone achieve peace, and not the man who strives to satisfy such desires.
Yeah. So a person is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enter like rivers into the ocean, which is ever being filled but is always still. Can alone achieve peace, not the man who strives to satisfy such desires. So, okay. So this is the situation of a conditioned soul. So conditioned soul means what? Still he has his mind which is not yet spiritualized. It's still affected by certain contamination. So mind may bring forth some kind of material desires. Some material desires may come across his mind. But a devotee knows that he is not supposed to entertain his material desires. He is supposed to train his mind to think spiritually. So devotee has a clear program for spiritualizing the mind. By higher intelligence, by spiritual intelligence, one can understand. So spiritual intelligence is the friend of the living entity. The spiritual intelligence is the friend of the soul. So that's why reading Gita and Bhagavatam, how can it help us? It gives us the right kind of understanding that what way our mind should think, what way our mind should be engaged, what way our mind should be working, right? So when we see certain kinds of desires coming, because of the mind being materially contaminated, so a devotee who has spiritual intelligence awakened, so he won't entertain them, right? Rather, because he is having his plans for Krishna consciousness, so he'll remain busy in his Krishna consciousness, and by dint of his engagement in Krishna consciousness, he feels fullness also. He feels spiritually happy, and still there is some lingering, material desires coming, because of contamination of the mind. So he simply tolerates them. He, by his fullness, he can easily tolerate them. He doesn't strive to satisfy them because he knows it is not good for me. I don't have to go for it. Because it has been contaminated from so long, so it is still some lingering contamination is there. That's why it is bringing up something. But I don't have to satisfy that. It's not good. It's not good for me. So he will rather focus his mind, his senses in some positive Krishna consciousness. You're getting this point?
Yeah.
So that fullness is possible when you sincerely engage in Krishna consciousness. Like that. So when and when some kind of this some desires may come here and there. So by spiritual intelligence you can understand, oh, this is not good. So let me continue engaging Krishna consciousness, and you feel happy, satisfied, like that. So yeah, so that way you will not have any kind of unnecessary deviation. Like suppose when you go to the station and you're coming out of the station, so many auto levels come. Hey, come, sit my auto, sit my auto. So many people will come. But you have to say no, 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 no. Why you have to say no? Because if you don't say no, they will pull you. They will make you sit also. They'll take you. So you have to very consciously say no, 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 no. And when you can say no? When you have your own temple vehicle. You know that my relative or my temple has got vehicle, and you know that is there. You just go and sit like that. And once you sit there, nobody will come. The same way, when we are also in a path to Krishna, so fixity should be there. No, and you are happy that no Krishna is there. You are having some vision of okay, the temple vehicle is there. So by having that fullness, that is, you are having the shelter. Fullness is there, and you are experiencing that happiness, that comfort, the shelter. So then you will not unnecessarily strive. Those kind of people giving temptations. Okay, come to my vehicle, come to my this thing. Sorry, no. So you will not strive to say yes to them. I mean, strive to satisfy them. No, sorry, I won't. So he says, although the vast ocean is always filled with water, it is always, especially during the rainy season, being filled with much more water. But the ocean remains the same, steady. It is not agitated. Nor does it cross beyond the limit of its brink. You are reading? क्या देख रहे हो? वर्स को देख ही नहीं रहे.
Yeah. No, I'm not.
सीधा परपोर्ट ना 2.70. आप दोनों एक ही चीज देख रहे हो. जुड़े भाइयों एकदम एक जैसा काम कर रहे हो. वो भी पीछे देख रहा है, ये भी पीछे देख रहा है.
पीछे नहीं ये
No, I'm amazed. Both of you do the same activity together.
हाथ में कुछ होगा कि मैं अभी
आप दोनों एकदम जुड़े हो. Okay. So although the vast ocean is always filled with water, it is always, especially during the rainy season, being filled with much more water. But the ocean remains the same, steady. It is not agitated, nor does it cross beyond the limit of its brink. That is also true for a person fixed in Krishna consciousness. Yeah. Actually, one other thing I wanted to say that we should not have a liberal attitude towards our mind and senses. Should be strict. Liberal means, oh, it's okay. Strict. Strictness is required because if you become liberal with your mind and senses, they will take advantage. They will cheat you. They will go here and there. So from beginning only, you have to curb the mind. You have to tell the mind, no, this is not the right way to think. You have to be Krishna conscious. So no entertainment. We should not entertain the mind to think wrongly. Immediately you have to curb. And you have the ways to do it. You have many things to divert the mind to. So we have to be little strict with our own mind and senses. Very important. So you see, although the vast ocean is always filled with, okay, but the ocean remains the same, steady. It is not agitated. Nor does it cross beyond the limit of its being. That is also true of a person fixed in Krishna consciousness. As long as one has the material body, the demand demands of the body for some connection will continue. The devotee, however, is not disturbed by such desires because of his fullness. A Krishna conscious man is not in need of anything because the Lord fulfills all his material necessities. Therefore, he is like the ocean, always full in himself. Desires may come to him like the waters of the rivers that flow into the ocean. But he is steady in his activity. But he is not even slightly disturbed by desires for sense gratification. That is the proof of Krishna conscious man. But he has lost all inclination for material sense gratification. Although the desires are present. Because he remains satisfied in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, he can remain steady, like the ocean, and therefore enjoy full peace. Others, however, who want to fulfill desires even up to the limit of liberation, what to speak of material success, never attain peace. So, yeah. So, Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Ataiva Shanta. Krishna Bhakta Nishkam. No, Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sadaiva Shanta. So, those who are getting some material enjoyment or some yogic powers or even liberation, they'll always be Shanta. Krishna Bhakta Nishkam. But devotee does not aspire anything. He only aspires to serve the Lord. Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Ataiva Shanta. He is completely peaceful. So, I can remain steady, okay. Others, however, who want to fulfill desires even to the limit of liberation, what to speak of material success, never attain peace. The fruitive workers, the salvationists, and also the yogis who are after mystic powers are all unhappy because of unfulfilled desires. So, more you have unfulfilled desires, means you are striving to fulfill some desire, some material desires, and you are striving to fulfill. You will remain peaceless. Peace won't be there. So only when you can become peaceful, when you have nothing, no material desires to be fulfilled. Material desires may be coming in the mind, but you have no inclination to fulfill them. Then you're peaceful. You're peaceful. Then you're peaceful. Because you are happy with the Krishna conscious engagement. The fruity workers are okay, it says, but the person Krishna is happy in the service of the Lord and he has no desires to be fulfilled. There may be some material desires coming, but he doesn't have to fulfill them. He knows nothing to fulfill. So in fact, he does not even desire liberation from the so-called material bondage. The devotees of Krishna have no material desires, and therefore they are in perfect peace. This is the last verse. Sorry, last to last verse. So text 71. You open is 2.71.
Yeah.
So you all can unmute and repeat after me. विहाय कामान्य सर्वान्, okay, विहाय कामान्य सर्वान्
विहाय कामान्य सर्वाय
सर्वान्
पुमांश्चरति निष्पृहा
सर्मानुपचरति निःस्पृहः
निर्ममो निरहङ्कारः
निर्ममो निरहङ्कारः
शान्तिम् अधिगच्छति.
शान्तिम् अधिगच्छति.
Translation.
Translation: a person who has given up all desires for sense gratification, who lives free from desires, who has given up all sense of proprietorship, and is devoid of false ego, he alone can attain real peace.
Purport.
Purport: to become desireless means not to desire anything for sense gratification. In other words, desire for becoming Krishna consciousness is actually desirelessness.
That means you have to have so much of desire to become Krishna conscious. Then only you can have freedom from material desires. You have to be active. You have to have some goal. You have to have some kind of aspiration. So you have spiritual aspirations, then you don't have time for having material desires and having time for going for material desires. Fill our life so much of spiritual desires. Like, okay, I have to complete Gita in this 1 month. After that I have to complete Bhagavatam in this much time. Then I have to chant extra rounds every day this much. Ekadashi you have to chant more rounds. So like that we should have a lot of spiritual plans. You can take help of devotees. And you should have some preaching plans. So many things we should have. So we should have a lot of spiritual desires. Yes.
To understand one's actual position as the eternal servitor of Krishna, without falsely claiming this material body to be oneself, and without falsely claiming proprietorship over anything in the world, is the perfect stage of Krishna consciousness. One who is situated in this perfect stage knows that because Krishna is the proprietor of everything, everything must be used for the satisfaction of Krishna. Arjuna did not want to fight for his own sense gratification, but when he became fully
sense satisfaction.
But when he became fully Krishna conscious, he fought because Krishna wanted him to fight. For himself, there was no desire to fight, but for Krishna, the same Arjuna fought to his best ability. Real desirelessness is desire for the satisfaction of Krishna, not an artificial attempt to abolish desires. The living entity cannot be desireless or senseless, but he does have to change the quality of the desires. A materially desireless person certainly knows that everything belongs to Krishna. Ishvashyam idam sarvam. And therefore he does not falsely claim proprietorship over anything. This transcendental knowledge is based on self-realization, namely knowing perfectly well that every living entity is an eternal part and parcel of Krishna in spiritual identity, and that the eternal position of the living entity is therefore never on the level of Krishna or greater than him. This understanding of Krishna consciousness is the basic principle of real peace.
Yes, Prabhu. So it says that to understand my actual position is that as a transcendental Krishna without falsely claiming material body to be oneself, without falsely claiming property or anything, perfect state of Krishna consciousness. So that means a devotee does not claim any proprietorship over anything in this world. And he only adds with this understanding of that I'm servant of Krishna. That's very amazing consciousness actually. So then only you can free from all self gratification. Because when you know you're servant of Krishna and everything what is there in this world is actually Krishna the proprietor, then only you can be free from any kind of pursuit for self gratification. And one who is situated in perfect state knows that Krishna is the property of everything. Okay, everything must be used for service. Okay. Arjuna did not want to fight for his own satisfaction. This was a shift of consciousness happened. So he fought for the pleasure of Krishna. The real desirelessness is the desire for satisfaction of Krishna. That is real desirelessness. So, so we have to increase our desire to satisfy the Lord. So materialist, so he says that the unity cannot be desireless or senseless, but he does have to change the quality of the desires. A materially desireless person certainly knows that everything belongs to Krishna. So materially desireless person knows that everything belongs to Krishna, and therefore he does not falsely claim proprietorship or anything. This transcendental knowledge based on circulation, namely knowing perfectly well that every living entity is an eternal part and parcel of Krishna and his spirituality, and that the eternal portion of the divinity is therefore never the level of Krishna greater than him. Yeah. So, so now, Krishna consciousness is all pervading in all aspects of your life. Actually, you always do everything with this understanding that you are servant of Krishna. Like even you take care of your body, let's say you are bathing yourself, you are putting clothes on yourself, you're eating. Even that also is a part of service to Krishna. How? Because the body is whose? Krishna's. And with this body, what you're going to do? You're engaging in devotional service. You're going to engage in devotional service. So to keep the body fit, some efforts may be required. So that effort also becomes part of devotional service. If you have the consciousness that I am servant of Krishna, this body belongs to Krishna. And what you're going to do with this body is to serve Krishna. So then that also becomes service to Krishna. Like for example, you have to go to a company. And the company has given you a car. Now the car, you have to clean it, you have to put petrol. So is it not service to the company? Yeah. It is. In fact, they will give you the money, reimburse, even for putting the fuel and also, even for cleaning and all that. Correct? Because that is also part of service to company. Because that car you are going to use for what purpose? Purpose of company's purpose. So same thing. No. So when you always have this thought that I am servant of Krishna in all activities, like even your family members also, when you think, okay, this child is not my child, it's Krishna's child. This children, husband or wife or children, anything. For wife, husband, wife, or your children or your parents, anyone. So all of them are actually Krishna's. It's Krishna. So when you are even earning money and you have to maintain that family, Krishna's family. Krishna has given me this family. So you may maintain them. So you have understanding that I'm simple servant. And then overall you want to see your family become more and more Krishna conscious. So you have some effort in that direction. Maybe I'm cooking the food and offering it as prasadam and feeding them. Some way you are trying to make sure that you are growing your Krishna consciousness. So that family, when you're seeing as Krishna's family and you may be doing some basic needs to be fulfilled, certain ways, you're earning and all. So this consciousness that I'm surrounded of Krishna and Krishna the purpose of everything is actually the antidote of material consciousness. And that can actually counteract this propensity of some gratification. And this actually empowers us, or this is like the immunity, this is like an immunity which can destroy the epidemic of sense gratification tendencies like that. So we are all suffering with the sense gratificatory tendencies and selfishness and all that. So this active consciousness of I'm servant of Krishna and acting in every situation of life as a servant of Krishna is actually the immunity. It's actually disinfection, which can counteract the sense gratificatory pursuits and everything. It's very, very powerful. This is the last verse. Esha Brahmi Sthiti Partha
Esha Brahmesthi Partha
Nainam Prapya Vimuhyati. Everyone.
Nana Praya
Nanam
Vibhuti
Vibhuyati.
Sthitvasyam Antakalepi
Vasyam Antakalipai
Kalipe
Brahma Nirvanam Richati.
Brahma Nirvanam Rachati.
Translation. Punamata, you can read.
That is the way of the spiritual and godly life, after attaining which a man is not bewildered. If one is thus situated, even at the hour of death, one can enter into the kingdom of God.
Yeah. So I really appreciate the Pura Mataji and Kiran Mataji, though they are elderly, but still they are able to sit for a long time and hear. Not easy. So I don't know, but I heard that as you grow in your age, especially after 50.
It's difficult to sit.
Yeah, after 50, 60, So mind tends to become very, you get a lot of anxieties also. They say, Vriddhavastha Chinta Sakta. A lot of chinta comes like that. And there are many reasons for it, because there are diseases also, body also gets trouble and all. So it's not easy. But somebody is sitting and reading and hearing, really appreciate it. That is the way of spiritual godly life, after attaining which a man is not bewildered. One is thus situated even at the hour of death. So even at the hour of death, somebody can be like that. So yes, it is always good to begin our whole practice from starting itself. But even somebody comes late, but if he is very carefully, practicing this process, and at the hour of death, also if he is able to follow this, can enter the kingdom of God like that. So purport.
One can attain Krishna consciousness or divine life at once.
This is one of the most important and powerful purport. Yes.
Once within a second, or one may not attain such a state of life even after millions of births.
See what is writing, and again you can see. One can attain Krishna consciousness or divine life at once within a second, or one may not attain such a state of life even after millions of births. You can see.
It is only a matter of understanding and accepting the fact. Khatwa Maharaj attained this state of life just a few minutes before his death by surrendering into Krishna. Nirvana means ending the process of materialistic life. According to Buddhist philosophy, there is only void after the completion of the material life. But Bhagavad Gita teaches differently. Actual life begins after the completion of this material life. For the gross materialistic, it is sufficient to know that one has to end this materialistic way of life. But for person who are spiritually advanced, there is another life after the materialistic life. Before ending this life, if one fortunately become Krishna conscious, he at once attain the stage of Brahma Nirvana. There is no difference between the kingdom of God and the devotional service of the Lord, since both of them are on the absolute plane. To be engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord is to have attained the spiritual kingdom. In the material world, there are activities of sense gratification, whereas in the spiritual world, there are activities of Krishna consciousness. Attainment of Krishna consciousness, even during the life, is immediate attainment of Brahman. And one who is seated in Krishna consciousness has certainly already entered into the kingdom of God. Brahman is just the opposite of matter. Therefore, Brahma
Kiran Mataji, can you
Sthiti.
read now? Can you read, Kiran Mataji, further?
Hello?
Yeah.
Brahman is
Yeah, you can go ahead. No problem. Read.
Brahman is just the opposite of matter. Therefore, Brahman Sthiti means not on the platform of material activities. Devotional service of the Lord is accepted in Bhagavad Gita as the liberated stage.
Sagunana samatityatan Brahma bhuyaya kalpate.
Therefore, Brahman Sthiti is liberation from material bondage. Can you scroll, Prabhuji? Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur has summarized this second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita as being the content for the whole text in the Bhagavad Gita. The subject matter are Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. In the second chapter, Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga have been clearly discussed, and glimpse of Bhakti Yoga has been given as the content for the complete text.
Yeah, thus and the Bhaktivedanta Prabhu, the second chapter, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, in the matter of this content. So I'll just little bit explain this. It's a beautiful thing. Venu Prabhu, you understood this purport? It is so nice, right?
Yes, yes.
See what he's saying. Can you read Venu Prabhu again? Can you read this line?
One can attain Krishna consciousness or divine life at once, within a second, or one may not attain such a state even after millions of births.
Yeah, and read this one.
It is only a matter of understanding and accepting the fact.
Yeah, so there is a point. So it is a matter of understanding and accepting the fact. So when you take it, wholeheartedly, this Gita, the day you take it, now I want to perfect my life. I don't want to continue my material existence. I want to go back home and to call it this very life. When you take the determination, when you accept these facts of Bhagavad Gita seriously in your life, so actually, if somebody can take so seriously in 1 second, 1 minute, Prabhupada says 1 minute. In 1 minute, one can perfect his life. So, yeah, and because the determination can take him, the seriousness can attract mercy of Krishna, and you can 1 minute one can attain perfection. And even if somebody can spend millions of lifetimes, still he may not take it. If he is simply attached to material things, he simply wants to continue. That's why he says, those who are determined for sense gratification, their determination is there. Oh, I want to enjoy the senses. They are so determined. Even though they so much they try, but they can still not. Even though they may so-called try to perform some religious things, some spiritual things, but still they don't make much proper advancement. That's why Bhakti Janaka also gave the example of anchor. You know that, no? So once there was a marriage party. So all the villagers, they sat in that boat. And now they have to go to another side of the river. So how many of you know this story of marriage party? Unmute and tell. Anybody knows? Okay, I will tell. No? Wait. So keep it with me. So it says that So then all the people were sitting and the boatman was roaring. And after roaring it for so long, the whole night he was roaring. Morning they got up. They were thinking that now I will be, at the other side of the road now will be celebrating, participating in the marriage and everything. They found out they were the same place only. I said, what is it? And then they asked the boatman, "Hey, you did not roar?" He said, no, the whole night I was roaring, see, so much sweat and everything. I'm tired now, give me my money. And he's telling, what? But we are same place. Then he also realized, correct. And what problem? What happened? Then, I forgot to remove the anchor.
Anchor.
Langar hota hai, langar. Anchor.
Ah.
So the anchor was not removed.
Oh.
So whole night he was roaring, but he was still there only. The same way that anchor represents our metal attachments, our determination to enjoy metal life. So sometimes you see that we know, we understand sometimes to some extent, but still we are determined for some gratification. We go for it. We sign up for it. We don't compromise. So we keep our attachments intact. That's why. So whenever we're struggling, to overcome, but sometimes one is very casual about it. One is not working on giving up some gratification and increasing his attachment to Krishna. So then whole Krishna consciousness becomes very difficult thing in many lives. So simply somebody is doing for show, some performance of religious life and all the rituals and all, but his goal is material only. His goal is material attachment only. It was very difficult. So Khatang Maharaj in few minutes, he surrendered to Krishna and he asked the demigods, he was fighting, he asked, how much time I have? He said, 1 moment. Immediately went to earth 3 planets. He completely absorbed himself in Krishna consciousness. And that's how he became perfect. So long life is not something what is desirable. Quality life is more important. Many great personalities, they have lived less, but they have lived a life of great quality. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu lived only for 48 years. Shankaracharya lived only for 34 years. Many great personalities, they have not lived so long, but they lived life of great quality. So now whatever time you have, in this human form of life, at least now you should be able to live with quality. Even at the time of death. Now you have some time still remaining. Why not take now very seriously? What else you have to do in this world? Why not take it so seriously? So take it up fully and just perfect your life. No more further material life. No more further material birth. So actual life begins after the completion of this material life, he says. For the gross materialists, they don't know this. So for the spiritually advanced, there is no other life after this materialistic life. But for persons who are spiritually advanced, there is another life after this materialistic life, and that is the life in a spiritual world. Before ending this life, one is fortunately become Krishna conscious. The advance becomes state of Brahma Nirvana. There is no difference between the kingdom of God and the devotional service of the Lord. So when you engage in devotional service of the Lord, eventually you'll get the kingdom of God also. To be engaged in transcendental service of the Lord means you're already in the spiritual kingdom. So in the temple, when you're engaged in so many services, you're already in the spiritual world. So the material world is activities of sense gratification, and the spiritual world is activities of Krishna consciousness. So attainment of Krishna consciousness even during this life is immediate attainment of Brahman. And one who is situated in Krishna consciousness has utterly attained the kingdom of God. So somebody who is 100% engaged in Krishna service is already in the spiritual world. The Prabhupada said all our temples are in the spiritual world because all thing what we do in temple is engaging service of the Lord. So Brahman is just the opposite of matter. Therefore, Brahmi Sthiti means not on the platform material activity. The ocean of the Lord is explained in the Bhagavad Gita as the liberated stage. Therefore, Brahmi Sthiti, liberation from material bondage. Bhakti Thakur has summarized second chapter. So this is entire summary of the Gita is there in second chapter itself, actually. So Karma Yoga, Jnana, Bhakti Yoga, everything mentioned. And Prince of Bhakti Yoga also is given contents for the complete text. That's the contents of the complete text. Yeah. So we have successfully done the 2 chapters. Very grateful to all of you. Venubro, can you put your number in message? Because I don't have your number. Somehow I forget your number always. Somehow I don't have looked at, but you are a good soul. I want to make sure that you're able to attend some more sessions.
Okay. Yes.
So can you give me a number? Venubro, you're the dentist, right?
Yes.
So you have
Yes.
to
I
become
put it in
now you
that
have
chat.
to become a transcendentalist.
Yeah,
What
I
do you
put
think?
the number.
Yeah, 301-8605. 215-301-8605, correct?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes.
6453086. Okay, Prabhu. Okay. So thank you all very much for joining today's session. Very grateful. That's such a short notice I told, but still you all came.